Today, we are going to recap the 2011 action sci-fi movie called In Time, where a man goes against the corrupt system dividing the rich and poor. So, let's get started. The story begins in a futuristic world where time has become the universal currency. Due to advanced genetic engineering, humans stop aging at the age of 25. After that, they get only one bonus year to live. In order to prolong their life, humans must earn time. The world is divided into two time zones, one for the rich who live an immortal life, and the other for the poor who work hard to earn time for their life and basic necessities. People have time countdown on their arms, which show their remaining life. If someone's time runs out, they die immediately. The movie revolves around Will Salas, who is 28 years old and lives in Dayton, a poor ghetto. One day, he wakes up and realizes that he has less than 24 hours left, as he earns time day to day, making it enough to pass each day. He heads down and wishes his mother her 50th birthday, and they plan to celebrate later, as his mom has to leave for work. Their happiness vanishes when Will and his mom realize that they need to pay rent and loans soon. Will's mom lends him 30 minutes from her time to let him buy a good lunch. On his way to work, Will notices many people dead on the sidewalk because their time ran out. As he tries to buy coffee, he realizes that prices have increased once again. While getting his paycheck, Will gets disappointed that he isn't paid enough for his extra shift. Will goes to a bar to meet his friend Boral, who is already drunk because a rich man is buying drinks for everyone. Will notices that the rich man named Henry has 116 years of life. Will worries that he will attract trouble. Soon, a criminal gang known as Minutemen arrive there and try to forcibly take the time of Henry. The gang leader Fortis challenges Henry for a time fight. Henry accepts the challenge, but asks for a moment in the bathroom. Only one guard goes with Henry, so Will knocks the guard out and escapes with Henry. Fortis and his gang chase Will and Henry, but they manage to escape into an abandoned building. Will and Henry get acquainted as Henry informs Will that he has been alive since a century and is sick of living such a long life. Will considers it unfair that he and his mom work multiple jobs to earn their life, while Henry is reckless about life. Henry states that he is from a rich neighborhood and mentions that rich people increase the cost of living deliberately. As the night passes, both men go to sleep while Will assures Henry that he won't steal his time. The next morning, Henry wakes up before Will and gives all of his time to Will, while only keeping 5 minutes for himself. As Will wakes up, he notices Henry missing, and the countdown on his arm indicates the century in his time. He rushes out to find Henry, only to spot him sitting on top of a bridge. Unfortunately, Henry's time runs out before Will can approach him, and he falls onto the river. Will then visits his friend Boral and his wife, holding their newborn baby. He gives Boral a decade in celebration of their 10-year-old friendship. That night, Will reaches the bus station to greet his mother and feels worried when she gets late. His mother can't afford the bus fare to reach home, so she starts running. When Will realizes that his mother might need him, he runs towards her anxiously. Unfortunately, his mother's time runs out just before she falls into Will's arms and dies. Will cries desperately, holding his mom in his arms, while he decides to take revenge against the rich for the unfair distribution of time. Meanwhile, the local police called timekeepers, headed by Officer Raymond, start to investigate the death of Henry. The next morning, Will rents a limousine to reach an area called Greenwich. He intends to cross the border separating rich and poor. During his journey, he pays several toll taxes in the form of time and reaches his destination. As Will reaches Greenwich, he enters a hotel and books a suite. Will feels surprised while noticing his surroundings that people in Greenwich live a luxurious and carefree life. At night, Will enters a casino and plays poker with the world's richest man, Philippe. Will plays wisely and wins over 1,000 years, which impresses Philippe and his daughter Sylvia. They invite him to a party in their mansion, so Will buys a brand new car and drives there. The timekeepers identify Will through video footage and start to hunt for his whereabouts. They soon find that Will has entered a different time zone and decide to confront him. Raymond mentions that he has seen Will before, indicating Will's father, who died years ago. At the party, Will meets Sylvia, and they dance together, and she tells him about her boring life. Sylvia wonders if Will belongs to the ghetto as she hasn't seen him here before, but he doesn't reply. Will notices that Sylvia always has a bodyguard who protects her, but Sylvia feels irritated about her safety measures. Will takes her for a late-night swim, and Sylvia admits that she always wanted to do something wild in life. As people begin looking for them, they both get dressed and head back to the party. Will's excitement vanishes when he is approached by timekeepers who arrest him in front of Sylvia and Philippe. Raymond takes back 1,000 years from Will as he accuses Will of killing Henry for his time. Will fights off the timekeepers, takes Sylvia as his hostage, and runs away from the party. Raymond follows Will while Sylvia pleads with him to let her go, but Will continues his escape journey. After a while, Will succeeds in putting Raymond off his trail and reaches Dayton, when suddenly his car gets wrecked in a trap and they crash. Soon, the Minutemen arrive while they're unconscious. They rob Sylvia of her time, as they realize that Will has only little time left. The Minutemen are forced to run as they hear timekeepers' sirens. As Sylvia and Will wake up, Sylvia panics when she realizes that she has only half an hour left. Will informs her that they have been robbed, which is common in this area. He takes her to Boral's house in the hope that he might help them with his time. But his wife informs them that Boral died by excessive drinking. As the time keeps running short, Will gets the idea to sell Sylvia's diamond earrings at a local pawn shop. Soon, they earn 48 hours, and Will decides to call Philippe for the ransom of 1,000 years. They call Philippe from a public telephone, but Raymond receives the call and warns Will not to follow his father's footsteps. Will takes Sylvia to his home, where he offers her his mother's clothes and informs her that she died because her time ran out. He further informs her about his father, who was a time fighter who used to win time and distribute it among others. Will shows Sylvia his father's technique, and she feels impressed. The next morning, Sylvia feels disappointed when her father doesn't pay her ransom, so Will offers her to go back to her home. On the way back, Sylvia notices several dead people on the sidewalk, as Will gives her a gun for her protection. Before calling her father, she kisses him, but notices that Raymond is about to hit Will, so she fires at him. When Will notices that Raymond is out of time, he lends him some of his time and leaves with Sylvia in a cop car. When Sylvia protests about why Will gave Raymond his time, he states that Raymond could die in the ghetto before getting any medical assistance. Meanwhile, local people threaten Raymond before his team rescues him. Sylvia advises Will to abandon the police car as it attracts unnecessary attention, so they make a plan. Will pretends to be a cop and stops a car with a rich lady. They rob her of some time and her diamond earnings and leave. Soon, Sylvia and Will hear news reports about them being criminal accomplices. Will advises Sylvia to go back to her father, but she refuses and decides to stay with him. Philippe attends a virtual meeting with his associates, convincing them that he has the situation under control when Raymond visits him. Raymond informs Philippe that he has issued an arrest warrant for Sylvia and threatens to arrest Philippe if he helps her. Philippe tries to bribe Raymond with an infinite amount of time, but Raymond refuses this offer. Meanwhile, Sylvia asks Will what he would do if he had an infinite amount of time, and Will plans to distribute it among people in need. Sylvia then promises Will to help him get a lot of free time. Will and Sylvia invade her father's bank and find numerous time capsules that they distribute among needy people. Fortis watches this scene with distaste as Raymond arrives there and encourages the public to disperse. In the next few days, Will and Sylvia rob several banks and distribute free time to needy people. Will even visits Boral's wife and gives her a time capsule. At the timekeeper's headquarters, Raymond notices major alterations in time management zones due to Will's generous acts. They plan to stop Will as he is disturbing the balance of the world created by timekeepers. Will and Sylvia stay the night at a local hotel and get intimate when suddenly, Will realizes that something is off. As he looks outside the window, he notices that the timekeepers are ready to arrest them, so they run towards a bus station. At first, the driver refuses to start the bus, but Will bribes him with time, and he agrees, while an angry Raymond notices them getting away. Fortis corners several men and demands to know about Will, who distributed free time among them. One man informs Fortis about Will and Sylvia staying at a fancy hotel, and Fortis barges into their room. Fortis challenges Will into a time fight to the death, and Will agrees. Soon, Will succeeds in tricking Fortis using his father's technique. He tricks and takes away all the time of Fortis while taking out a gun from his pocket and killing the henchman. As Fortis times out and dies, Will and Sylvia run away because Raymond arrives there. He announces to his team that he has sacrificed 50 years of his life for his job, so he can't let Sylvia and Will escape easily. Will feels hopeless that the more he lends people time, the more prices keep rising. He believes that only 1,000,000 years will help him bring the change into the world. So Sylvia decides to give up and surrender to her father. They both reach her father's office, where Sylvia tricks Philippe and Will makes him a hostage and takes Philippe to his secret locker. Philippe warns them that in order for some people to be immortal, others must die, but Will assures him that no one must die due to unfair circumstances. Will and Sylvia take a time capsule worth 1,000,000 years and leave Greenwich. As they head back to Dayton, Raymond locates them and decides to chase them. Will informs Sylvia that if their plan succeeds, they might help people in other zones as well. Before Raymond can approach them, Will lends a time capsule to a young girl who takes it to local people. Sylvia and Will run away from Raymond, who chases them without realizing that he is running short on time. Soon, Raymond corners them, but before he can shoot, his time runs out and he dies. As Will and Sylvia have only a few seconds left, they run towards Raymond's car and take his time. They hug each other, knowing that they have succeeded in their mission. The news reports show that people in Dayton have stopped working in factories and are entering richer time zones. Meanwhile, the timekeepers accept their defeat and decide to stop chasing Will and Sylvia, who keep robbing bigger banks to help people. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.